Hey guys, today I'll be showing you guys my full home gym. I'll be walking through everything, answering your questions about it, and showing you guys if the squat rack is still in shape or not. So the way our home gym is set up is that we could put everything up into the corners or along the walls, and we could still park in 2 cars, which is how many cars you have. First off, before we get started, let me show you how everything's put up. So against this wall, we have all of our plates stacked up. We were too lazy to make a weight tree, and this works perfectly fine because every single stack is their own weight. And we also have these hooks on the side to hang up a bar, and the bench goes right underneath that. And it's really hard to see, but on the floor we trace the bucket and the top of the bench, so we know where to place each thing every single time. So this is my deload week, so everything's gonna be super easy. That's why I have the time to film this video. Today I'm just doing 2 squat singles at 200, some bench and some Bulgarian split squats, which is usually what I do on day 3. And so the most important question is the squat rack still safe after 4 months? And I can say without a doubt, it's super safe. There's nothing wrong with it that can affect the safety. And yeah, it's still really rigid. One noticeable change is that the vinyl that we stuck on here to prevent the wood from chipping from touching the bar the whole time is, as you can see, torn off. So we end up putting in staples here, and for this one, the vinyl wasn't long enough for us to put staples, so it just like fell off after a few weeks. But it does protect the bar from the wood chippings, but the vinyl does tear, probably because our vinyl isn't that strong and the bar is like iron, you know. And if you only watched my squat rack videos, you should definitely watch my lifting vlogs. You don't know that I added some things to our gym. And it's not on right now, even though it's super hot because it's super loud, but it's definitely needed. Even in Illinois, definitely need a fan. We also put up a mirror so you can stretch and check your mobility on each side, which is super important. And outfit checks too. I never really introduced this band area, but it's just 2x4s on a wall with some hooks on it. And we have these bands that are different weights. And with these hook positions, there's 4 heights. You can literally do any single exercise, like tricep extension, face pulls, bicep curls, chest press, rows, or lat pull downs, like anything you do on here. So yeah, this is super useful for accessories if you're thinking of a home gym, or you can make a pulley system, but honestly, this is so much easier. Okay, so I just finished my 2 singles for squats. Before we go on to bench, I just want to talk about one of the most important things that you can add to your home gym. So the problem was that I'm around 5'5", 5'6", and I squat low bar, while my dad is around 5'9"-ish and he squats high bar. So that's a big difference. This rack is perfect for me since you want to accommodate the shortest person. But when he puts the bar in, he has like a long distance to go, and that like causes knee pain and all of that. So this is what he came up with. They're these things. So this is just a 6-inch piece of wood depending on your height, and then it's the same distance, which is 1 inch of this distance, and plus 2 strong ties. I'll show you how this works. It's just like this, and you just slip it on. And now you have another rack height. And this is super useful if you have two people of different heights in your family. So now you can just put the bar here, and I'll show you, like, if I step on here and try to pull on this, like I pull the whole rack, not just this thing. You can't go side because of this, and it can't go down or this way or that way because of this thing. It's stuck here. So yeah, super useful. If you have different heights in your family, definitely make this.
Two hours later.
Hey guys, so I'm back. It was way too hot in my garage, and if I had to film in there, I had to turn off the fan, which I could not survive. So that's why I'm filming this section of the vlog here in my room where there's AC. So anyway, I will be answering some of the questions about my home gym, and yeah, let's get to it. So the first question is, how high is the bench? So the bench is a little more than 15.5 inches tall without the foam, and with the foam, it depends. So my foam is 2 inches, so that makes it 17.5 plus. But when you lay on it for benching or whatever, the foam gets crushed, so it's shorter than that. The foam I use is more squishy than normal benches. Like usual benches don't squish down that far, but I didn't have an option when I was buying it, so that's what I made it with. Okay, the second question is, what kind of foam is it, and also the vinyl. So I put a picture of it up here. I got a 22 by 22 inch piece and cut it in half, so that made it a 11 by 44 inch piece. And honestly, if I were to remake the bench, I would make the bench with 2 pieces of foam and cut them to 13 inches wide, because our wood is around 12 inches, so there's half-inch gaps on each side, and sometimes you can feel the plywood on your back, and that's not the most comfortable feeling. So I recommend getting 2 pieces of foam or some other foam so that it can go around the plywood of the bench. And I got my vinyl from Joann's. I think most craft stores have vinyl you can buy, like Michael's or Hobby Lobby's, and there are a lot of options to choose from. The vinyl I picked was supposed to be meant for another project, so it's not the most suitable type of vinyl for a bench. I would recommend getting something that's kind of sticky so your back wouldn't slide on the bench. My vinyl is more matte than shiny, so it's easier to slide, but that's not the biggest issue. Next question is, what wood did you use? So the wood that I've used is like the most basic type of wood, but if you want to go more fancy, or if you are using your squat rack outdoors or storing it outdoors where it's gonna rain, I suggest getting treated wood so it's waterproof and it won't ruin your rack. Next question is, how many days did you wait for the concrete to dry? So this honestly depends on your weather, your humidity, and all of that. Ours was okay to use the next day, so we like finished everything in the afternoon, and the next day the top layer of concrete was dry already. Through the buckets you can see where there's still wet patches, but honestly, if the top is solid, like it's not gonna move anywhere. Someone said 2 days under hot sun, 8 hours min, and yeah, that's basically how long it takes concrete to dry. The stuff inside the bucket does take a while because it's inside and there's like no airflow, but like it's fine if it's not 100% dry. Next question is, how long are the support beams, or whatever you want to call them, the diagonal supports? They are cut at a 45-degree angle on both sides, and the longer part is 45 inches. So I forgot to mention this when I was talking, but you don't want your diagonal supports to touch the ground. So you want them just hovering above just a little, small enough that if you put the bar in, it would touch the ground without the whole thing tipping, but you don't want them to touch the ground because then it's easier to move around because you're not dragging it. These don't have to be exactly 45 inches, that's just how much wood we have. Just don't make them super long that they take up so much space, or super short that it's useless. So one question I got a few times is, how much weight can the bench and the rack hold? So personally, I haven't tested it over 250-ish, but there are people who squatted and benched 500 pounds or more on these racks without any problem, and they didn't even have diagonal supports. And the way we made them was with screws and wood glue, and of course the concrete, so like it's not gonna move. So I can definitely say it can hold up most anyway. Probably like any lifter can lift in it, except people who like squat 1,000 pounds. And not trying to shade anyone, but like I've seen weaker designs on YouTube and still holding a lot of weight. So yeah, our design is really strong, so it can definitely hold a lot of weight. And if you squat really heavy and bench really heavy and you're scared, you can always secure the sides with more strong ties, use more glue, stronger screws, more screws, all of that stuff. So yeah, it can hold a bunch of weight. Another question about how strong the rack is can you pull up on it? So I don't pull up on it personally. If you were to attach something to the very top of the rack and pull up on it, I'm not sure. Honestly, because the center of mass of the whole squat rack thing is literally in the bucket, so holding something that high can maybe tip it because a lot of torque, but that only happens if you're swinging on your pull-ups. If you want to do strict pull-ups, then this definitely works because you're just pulling it down and the rack's not gonna go down anymore. But if you swing your pull-ups, then I'm not sure. But when I do rack chins and that stuff, I make sure to face the opposite way as if I were squatting, because when you swing, you always swing this way, and then you have the diagonal supports applying force against the swing. I do sometimes swing on my rack chin and it's totally fine. So yeah. So another person asked, why don't you just put the rack against the wall? And if you don't compete or anything, you should do that, because that solves basically all of the issues of the whole thing tipping and all of that. But personally, I have several reasons why I don't like squatting facing a wall. Number one, when I squat, I usually like point my eyes somewhere farther away. By staring into a distance, it allows me to focus better. Like even on my last video where I squatted 260 at my gym, I was facing a mirror. My coach told me, put the hooks on the other side so you squat in the open and not toward the mirror. And that leads to my second point, is that at competitions, you always squat in the open. Like there's people sitting in front of you. So because I compete, I want to get used to not squatting against the wall. Also, lastly, I take videos of my lifting, and I personally like taking front videos the most. If I'm against the wall, I can't put my camera in front and have a nice angle. But if all of these points don't matter to you, you should definitely try putting your squat rack against the wall, and that would solve all the problems of the squat rack tipping. And lastly, this question I get a lot, you should make a deadlift platform, or you should make a pulley system, or whatever. Well, first of all, my gym is open, so I can go anytime I want. Second of all, the nearest tractor store where I can buy stall mats is like 2 to 3 hours away, and I honestly don't want to drive that far to get stall mats, and plus they're not cheap. Like, you do have to pay some money. Plus the plywood, if you want like a plywood on top or on the bottom, big plywoods are pretty expensive. I also don't have the time and the effort to make all of this, especially since my gym is open. And lastly, this is not my house, this is my parents' house. They make the final decision, and I will be moving out in a year to go to college. And yeah, so if I build it and like keep it in the house and they don't use it, then it's basically a waste. And yeah, I think that answers all of the questions I've been getting on my combo rack and bench. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them down below and I'll make sure to reply to you. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.